Alright, people, alright. Inna alhamdulillah wa kafah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulih al-Mustafa, wa ala ibadihi alladhina irtada, wa man bihudahum ihtada, wa bi athari ahli al-Madinah iqtafa, wa ba'd. Fassalamu Allahi ala al-qawm, ahlan wa sahlan bikum wa marhaban, Juan Ying Leute, bienvenidos a todos, Pakhair Ragale, Khushamadid, people, and as always, Swagatam, Swagatam. Vah, vah, vah. Whoa, I'm exceptionally, as the saying goes, "Main der karta nahi, der ho jati." That's the story of my life, people. God, I mean, it's a good thing I'm not working for someone. I think I'd be fired on... Right, so what is going on? Let me do a quick sound check. Let me bring up mi gente. Look at this straight away. Is it sunnah? Is it sunnah to drink nabidh any cause any? Right, so let me just check what the Facebook people are saying. Right, Hina, you're doing it, Frowdy Frubbery. Alright. Noman Qureshi, Jani, controversial. Ab hota hai yaar. Riz, you're doing it. Saliha, as always. Alright, shukran. Right, so people, let me just check. Look, the sound is fine. I'm getting it's all good. You can hear me. See, just as we're starting, we've got somebody saying, Mufti, Mufti, have you got any Sohagrat tips? They're asking me. अब मसला ही सारा टिप का है. See, this is what happens as soon as I start. Tawbah, people. Tawbatan nasuha. So, what's going on? Let's check first of all. What have I got here? Right, so this, people, those of you, let me share some news.
Make a declaration as to why they need to travel. This reason for travel will be checked by carriers prior to departure. And this approach, Madam Deputy Speaker, effectively knows that checks on arrival are already in place with the passenger location.
Anyway, enough of her. Enough of her. That's enough. Basically, that's her brainwave, people, recently, that people who are traveling will be asked that, where are you traveling? Cha. I mean, you think with the amount of lying the government has done, they would know that people have the art and the ability to lie. She said, well, going on a holiday is not a valid reason. Well, I'm going on work then. So that's what's going on, people. That's what's going on. But we've also had, if I just bring up, I saw Allah. Look, people. Yaar, ye ho ka raha hai. Somebody sent me this when Mufti misses your super chat. Dukh mila, people. Right, so that's what happens. That's the emotions when I miss people's super chats. So, but much love to you all. This is it's a jubilee. Allah. A jubilee session, people. This is the 200th. This is the 200th, people. Not mi'a wahida, mi'atain. 200th session, people. 200th session. Allahu Akbar. Vah. You know, it's if it wasn't for lockdown, I'd definitely be doing this in person, hosting people, food shoot, kuch, you know, party shatty. So, but unfortunately, it is what it is. But I am so humbled with all of this, all of you. आप लोगों का प्यार और मोहब्बत, your love, people, that you show. I have to say, it's people, check this out. I poured my coffee in here and I almost burnt my lip. I didn't realize how hot this, how hot the rim. I'm haram yo. I'm speaking about this. You know what it is? Your dirty mind, people. You know this. Okay, that's a lot better. I tried to take a sip as I was walking in and burnt my lip. So, people, मैं अकेला ही चला था जानिबे मंजिल मगर लोग साथ आते गए और कारवां बनता गया. That this is a path I set out on my own. I just set out, but people joined along the way, and so it became a caravan. Allahu Akbar, people. So I dearly appreciate all of that, and there's inshallah so much more to achieve yet. Abhi to aage dekhiye hota hai kya. This is just the ibtida'i ishq. This is just the beginning, people, the beginning. So, in the words of Imra al-Qais, where he says, وَلَوْ أَنَّمَا أَسْعَى لِأَدْنَى مَعِيشَةٍ كَفَانِي وَلَمْ أَطْلُبْ قَلِيلٌ مِّنَ الْمَالِ. He says, you know, if I was looking for some just mediocre, you know, something in life just to get by, then that's a different story, basically. لكنما أسعى لمجد مؤثل وقد يدرك المجد المؤثل أمثالي. He says, but what I'm seeking is an immortal kind of glory. And that, he says, the likes of me can attain. Ayo, Imra al-Qais, you're doing it. So, people, let's wake up. So, what is going on, mi gente? What is going on? So, let me just check that everything is in order here, see what else I have. Guess that. All right, nope. People, someone sent me this. Un momento. Look at this. I have to say that I'm receiving quite a few of these edits. They definitely bring a smile to my face. So those of you that are doing them, you know who you are. Keep it going. I've also started up, finally, people. I've started up the on YouTube. I mean, I've not put much listings. I've just started it up. Mufti's merch. So, inshallah, in time to come, we'll get all of that on there. So, that's something interesting. And also, I'm in the process of having an entire revamp of all my equipment. So, to take it to the next level, inshallah. So that stuff, half of it is here. I say half, but certain things are here, certain things still remain. in terms of quality. I'm still waiting on the orders, and I'm waiting on some of my techie people who are still awaiting their vaccine, too afraid to come out. God damn it, you know who you are. You know who you are. So, but inshallah, this is the reason I'm saying this is because it's, it's been 200 steps here. So just some ideas of what's to come. Inshallah, inshallah. And in addition to that as well, I do aim to, I'm no good at this, but I aim to do a few, certain other things like some reviews. I mean, that I'm good at, but what I was about to say was a bit, not too much so I don't get distracted, but a bit of this gaming. I'm gonna do a bit of that. Just I'll have to learn how to do it, and kind of stream it just to kind of mingle with some of those people out there, and we'll speak a bit about that today anyway, because it's interesting. I mean, not that it's directly linked, but the whole Wall Street thing and, GameStop and all of that. So that's a totally separate topic. I just, from the word game, my mind shot off there. But yeah, so these are some interesting things to come, inshallah. People, what is preoccupying your precious minds? Let's take a look, people. Let's see. So you can.
Is it haram to slap your wife?
Oh, check this out, people. So. So, right. Okay. So. Right, let's take some of your questions. What I did want to do today as well was deal with some of your questions, if I can. What is going on, people? Right, so how to get over waswas. Invite Mufti Uthman ibn Farooq. Who is Mufti Uthman ibn Farooq? I take it is the son of Farooq. That much I figured out. How you doing? It's Salman Moeen with the super chat. Much love, much love. So, what we'll take a little look at today is I will be looking at this verse of the Quran discussing the story of I don't know why I was about to say Ya'juj Ma'juj, just because I played the clip, right? So taking a look at Habil and Qabil, the sons of Adam, and the story or when I say story, but the mention really of the crow or the raven, and what is that about? You see, because it so that's something I'll take a look at. Right, let me just put that there. Right, so why this raven? Is this something so magical? Does it break the laws of nature? But what are some other messages that could be taken away? Some lessons, some archetypal features that are being mentioned implicitly in those verses, or in that particular verse about this raven comes. So I want to take a little look at that. I did want to say some words on this whole thing of this modern day trading. I want to speak a little bit about that. So what on earth is all, I don't mean what on earth is it all about, but it just goes to show how out of sync the Islamic fiqh is. But it also shows some just shocking kind of mind blowing and boggling realizations of what human beings are now capable of doing. And what does money mean right now? So I think that's and it really we've in this recent example of Reddit versus Wall Street, we find a an amazing case study if we reflect on it. So that's something I think it's definitely worth. What this is coming back on, chalo. इसको हटाते हैं यार. Right, so yeah, so that's something definitely I want to take a look at. But what are some of your questions? Somebody said something about the mods. I'm not sure what you're saying about the mods. I'll take a look. Right, so peoples. All right. Let's load this up. So, what is bothering you people? What's on your minds? Somebody kept asking about Nabith. Can I drink alcohol? Can I drink alcohol? That's the question, basically. Relájate, relax. So, I can't pay. What's all of these? Can men wear gold? Yes, I've answered that. Men can wear gold, in my understanding. And I've got a whole video on it explaining why gold and silk are not haram, according to several scholars, and I find myself in line with those ulama. But it was that the Prophet did discourage this for a good reason in his time, because he was trying to prevent this luxurious, sedentary, um, chilled out kind of lifestyle, because the people needed to be on a persistent or a consistent state of standby. It was a very volatile society. It was there were things like they were in essence a warrior society. I mean, if you say society, but a warrior kind of civilization. They had a warrior lifestyle. People survived off raiding other towns or other villages or tribes, and it was extremely dangerous. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam discouraged a a kind of in the moment, in his moment, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he discouraged a settled outlook on life. He needed the community to be on alert. And there were several attempts. There were major attempts, coalition attempts to completely wipe Medina off the face of the globe. So it's not that the Prophet was just imagining these things that were in his mind. These things actually happened. And the attempts were very powerful. And if it was not for the sandstorm that kind of blinded these people and lasted days, I mean, that's Surah Ahzab in the Quran speaks of the Ahzab means the coalition. And if it wasn't for that, the coalition, these kind of groups that got together would have caused, you know, near fatal damage to Medina. So yeah. Right, what is going on? What is going on? Right, are people saying that there's are the mods asleep today? ऐसा क्या? चलो यार, let's get let's turn 1-2 people into mods. There you go. Who else is here that I recognize? Well, we've got one now, so I'll check for some of the names I recognize. Right, so super chat. Idris, hey, you're doing it. Much love. How did the Prophet and early Muslims view the Torah and Bible, a source of knowledge benefit, etc.? And did that view change over time? It's a good question. I definitely feel that the early Muslims viewed the prior scriptures as a source of insight. Clearly, I mean, that's evident from how they refer to them, in how they even do tafsir sometimes using them. It doesn't mean it has to be right, but it was their attempt to understand things. There's Sayyidina Umar radiallahu an definitely held the Torah in very high light, in very high, extremely high regard. Uh, right. So these, so you clearly, yes, there is the hadith from the Prophet ﷺ that he tells Umar that, what are you doing? Why are you spending so much time invested in the Torah? You should be focusing on what's going on, learning the faith as it's being revealed. And the Prophet said, look, if Moses was alive today, he would be following the revelation, which is the Quran. So, yes, of course, but that wasn't to diss prior scriptures, but it was simply a matter of prioritization. Okay, so the Quran was to be prioritized naturally. Revelation was unfolding in real time. So the people around Wahi, around revelation, had to be focused. But yeah, and I think over time, the Quran does not state that that prior scriptures have been entirely corrupted. It doesn't say it like that. So okay, so this, because I've been asked this question as well. That, look, does Islam believe that the Quran and the Torah and the Bible are corrupted? So this is a layered response. Okay, so there is a core message in the Torah and in the Bible, whether it's the Old Testament and the New Testament. There is a core message there. As far as Islam is concerned, in my understanding, the Quran does not dismiss that it's been corrupted. It does not make that claim necessarily, and I don't feel it does. Some people might argue. I don't feel that is what it's saying, that they've lost the message. So the message was something else and they've completely lost it. That's not true. However, and this is where there is a caveat to it. There's a layer as well, if you want to see it as a layer, that the way Islam sees it is that, yes, it has undergone certain transformations. So naturally, the Bible, the Jewish Bible, the Torah, it's gone linguistic transformations. It disappeared in terms of writing. It's rewritten after Babylon. So several hundreds of years, it's missing. People are rewriting it. So naturally, you can imagine people are changing certain things. They are, maybe they're reconstructing from memory certain parts of it, several parts of it. In fact, the whole thing is reconstructed from memory, but I mean certain stories, certain explanations may be altered. So in that, and then the book has undergone translations which have given different renditions of meaning. So in that sense, yes, the Bible. So when people say, has that been changed? Yes, it has been changed. Has it been corrupted? If that's what you mean by corrupted, as in certain words have changed, certain stories may be differently represented, some may have been, they may have been certain false memories, certain things like this, then yes, of course, if that's what you mean by corrupted, then that is true. That has happened, and biases may have influenced as well stories. But if you mean the entire message is gone, there is no message left at all in the Bible or in the Jewish Bible, the Gospels. No, that's not the case. There, there's plenty of room for a valid message that is still there in the scriptural sources, but it's in this perspective it's been corrupted, if you want to use the word corrupt. So yeah, definitely in terms of certain words, nuances, translations, rewriting from memory, false memories, maybe changing certain stories, and in because the Bible is huge, so in so much of it that would have happened, but the message would still be very much valid. That's my take on all of this. Right, let me just. Right, Chip, you're doing it with the super chat. Much love, much love. Opinion on near death experience. NDEs, NDEs, people, NDEs. Gateway to Akhirah or just chemicals in the brain? An opinion on Irshad Manji and how to convince LGBT to Islam. Yeah, Chip is on a mission to get the whole LGBT community and bring them into Islam. Right, so first of all, NDEs, near-death experiences. I definitely feel these are valid portals. These are not just some chemicals in the brain. I don't. Let me see. This is actually a good book if you're interested in that. I don't know if you can see it from there. But it's called A Consciousness Beyond Life, The Science of the Near-Death Experience by Pim van Lommel. So that's Pim van Lommel. And I went to his presentation and he demonstrates how he's one of the leading cardiologists in the world, and he shows several. He has certain, I believe, in the book he does as well. Yeah, he does have certain kind of charts, MRI scans, and I'm just trying to see if in his presentation he had loads, but he has one or two in here as well. But the point is that what he's showing is that these people who went into cardiac arrest whilst in hospital, so they were already there, they managed to they would have a lot of, in this critical ward, they would have a lot of that the facilities, the machinery and apparatus to be conducting electroencephalograms. So you think I don't know what an electroencephalogram is? So these EECGs, where they are basically reading the brain waves and doing all this kind of stuff and scanning these people and doing all kinds, and he has many participants, and they vary the tests, but basically what they find is from these people who report a near-death experience, there's a huge overlap in the findings, and including atheists, or regardless of their religion, race, faith, gender, you name it, regardless of all of that, they still had very similar experiences. Now, things like, for example, the light, seeing a light, moving towards it, a tunnel, stuff like this, these are very overlapping kind of experiences that these people have. The other very interesting thing is he demonstrates how brain activity had almost ceased in most of these people. So how were they having these experiences? So, but I mean, you can read his book and look into that. But I definitely, yeah, I'm very, I do feel that these things are a portal. And NDE, near death experience, that's obviously a very intense, and that's the final frontier before death. So, yeah, but not many people would experience that to that extent. But other things like psychedelics and DMT, for example, ego death, even psilocybin and stuff like this, they also can mimic a kind of near-death experience, or this sense where people experience a sense of dying, and it's very overwhelming. It's not but it, if a person has the breakthrough in it, it can be very um it can be not just peaceful, but it can be very meaningful to the person, because and a huge sense of relief can be experienced. But yeah, so these are things that's my take on Irshad Manji. You know what? I haven't I I don't really know much about. It's a her, I take it. Yeah, I don't really know much about her. Um I'll have to check out some stuff and then comment on Irshad Manji. Right, but I have years ago. I think I saw some clips. I can't even remember what they were about. So yeah, one more super chat. I'm getting to it. How would you respond to non-Muslims who say that disregarding any controversial hadith about the Prophet is an attempt to whitewash Islamic history? Yeah, that's a very good question. Because yes, of course, um, it it could be seen like that. From their perspective, it could be seen that when you find something, um, when you find blemishes, flies in the ointment, the only reason they're there because they're true. This is their assumption, and in fact, I think that the way it's argued by people, like Shacht and other people, is that the fact that Muslims mentioned them shows that they're true, because otherwise they would have been motivated to hide them. So this is a reason. And to be fair, from a at face value, that's a valid sense of analysis. That's a to look at something from that perspective. You're obviously ascribing. You're trying to understand motives, and you're thinking, well, this person, why would he mention something that is problematic for Islam? And the only reason he would do so is because it must have been true. And that sounds as a very, that's quite a cogent argument to the at face value. However, you see, upon closer inspection, if you're going to be fair, what you have to do is you have to think that that's true, but can I, as a person, think of any motive for people to have fabricated that hadith? And you see, this is what they don't do, or they don't do fairly. I mentioned a while back, there's an academic I'm in touch with. Haven't spoken to him now for a little while. I should reach out again. But we had an amazing discussion on the age of Aisha. And he isn't a Muslim. He's not a Muslim, but he's doing his PhD on the age of Aisha. And we had a discussion for maybe about 3-4 hours. We spoke. Incredibly insightful discussion. I did ask him to come on to Mindtrap, but I think at this stage he wanted to keep a very low profile. So this person, he actually began as, and I don't want to misrepresent him, but as an Islamophobe. He began as somebody picking holes in Islam, going for the general arguments, you know, Islam bashing. But it's amazing. It's amazing that you one who gets fixated with Islam. It's interesting. Islam has an ability, a kind of prowess to pull in those who, even if for negative reasons, become fixated on it. And I think that's actually an incredible feature of the faith. But still, this person, he, after a while, many years, and he knew all these arguments, these kind of what are those, the Hyde Park debating argument. He knew all of that stuff. Okay, why did Muhammad do this then? Why did he do that? Why did he marry a 6-year-old girl? It's in Bukhari, it's in this. He knew all of this stuff. Now, he said he reached a certain stage, he started to academically study all of this, and he did his masters, and then and then later his PhD. But it's only before his PhD that he realized one day, he had this internal dialogue where he asked himself, could I, because he would follow this line of reasoning as well, that this has to be true. The Prophet married a child, has to be true, because why would Muslims make it up? Because it's an insult to Islam. It's an insult to the Prophet. So for Muslims to make it up would mean that, they wouldn't do that. So if anything, they would hide it. The same reasoning that Shaykh and others have kind of and this is actually surprisingly the same reasoning from a different perspective, but that these modern day neo traditionalists have, these, these kind of Salafi minded people, that this is, but they have it in a more simplistic way, but the same kind of thing. So he said, I started thinking about this, and I thought that, look, actually, I can think of reasons why people would make it up. And this is what this moment of epiphany is what led him to then dig deeper and research profoundly this topic. But there were several reasons, and he started to just think about it. And it's very similar, because when we had our conversation, a lot of our findings, I mean, my theories on all this stuff were very similar to what he later on arrived at, but obviously from a non-Muslim perspective. But this whole political thing, because I had said as well that, look, if you think about it, right, that there is this, you see, history has to be chosen, and you have to remember that people are in the you had Bani Umayyah, and then you had Bani al-Abbas, and most history gets written down in the Abbasid era. Now, there were just two main versions of history. Who do you take, the Umayyad one or the Abbasid one? And the Abbasid is current, and you can't really choose the Umayyad because you'd end up getting persecuted. And during the first century and so much of Islam, that is Bani Umayyah. They stop in 131 Hijri. Now, nobody's writing history up until then. So the problem here is, what about people who weren't happy? Like the mainstream Sunnis, you have to understand, mainstream Sunnidom was not really Abbasid inclined. Now, they were okay with Abbasids, but they weren't really. You have to remember, look, the Abbasids were Shia. Don't forget this. In their origin, they were Shia. They later on, give the boot to the Shia and become kind of independent and attach themselves to Sunnis, and then become kind of like, first of all, pseudo Sunnis and then just Sunnis later on. But initially, the Abbasid movement rose, like when it rose from Khurasan and to overthrow Bani Umayyah, it was a Shia movement. It was not a Sunni movement. So they were very clear about the Al and about Ahlul Bayt and about all of this. They weren't like the mainstream Muslims. They were the Shia Muslims. But the only thing is, because they overtook, and you see, when it comes to the crunch, who overtakes first? So, as it happens, the people who overtook first, because these were Bani Hashim, yeah, all the main clans of Hashim, so which is the Prophet's clan. But with them, you see, as you come down, they're all part of Bani Hashim, but then they're like from the Prophet, his uncles, and their sons, and so on. And obviously, the Prophet's offspring via Ali. But then you've also got Abbas, who's the uncle of the Prophet, and Ibn Abbas and his offspring, and so on. And so you've got all of these are all part of the Shia movement. But it's the Abbasids who make it first. So when they seize the throne, they think, well, actually, you know what? I kind of like this throne. Nasha hai boss, nasha. So they were like, you know what? Actually, yaar, maza aa raha hai. It's like, oof, I could get used to this. And then they're like, well, who's at the door? The Alawiyin. So, sorry, who? Kaun? Who? Aap kaun? It's one of those, sorry, who are you again? So what happened is they kept it for themselves. Now, when they kept it for themselves, who are their number one threat? Their number one threat are the Alawiyin, the Fatimiyin, the children, the offspring, who are part of the same Shia thing, but those who come through Fatima and Ali. Why are they a major threat to them? Because even though, you see, those who are closest to you, they make the worst enemies. So this is the problem. They were one, and these guys did a power grab, and they're in control. So the biggest threat is not Bani Umayyah, who you overthrew. They're the secondary threat. The first threat is the sidekick that you just overthrew, because in this case, the Fatimiyin had they had a greater claim to the throne, because remember, they're saying we're the offspring of the Prophet, and you're the offspring of the uncle of the Prophet. So even though you're related, but we're closer still. So this is why the Abbasids then turn to persecute them. You know, in drama, yeah, it's like proper saga going on. So they turn and, you know, what's that poem? Ah, yar, what is it? لظلم ذوي القربى أشد مضادة على الكبد من وقع الحسام المحند. Wow. That, you see, that when you are, I think that's it, but when you're betrayed or you suffer from the hands of those who are close to you, that is worse than being chopped up by, this super sharp sword. So the point is that this, now, when the Abbasids become Sunni, at this point, history starts getting documented. So historians, who should they side with? This is an important question. Do you go, if you promote Bani Umayyah version, the main, the earlier version of Islam, then these guys are going to be upset. If you quote their version is really like the Shia version, but except it's now moving away from the Shia. But there was another narrative, you see. And that narrative was the Zubayrid narrative. Because there was also power in the house of Zubayr. He had ruled, Abdullah ibn Zubayr had ruled for a substantial amount of time, and at a particular point considered to be the main ruler of the Islamic world. So, and he is, the nephew, if you like, of Aisha. And so And he's like from the mainstream Sunni thing. So this was also a perspective. So it became important as well for people that were part of this Zubayrid thought to always promote Aisha. Because Aisha radiallahu anha extends legitimacy to the Zubayrid perspective. Because she is their aunt. It is usually her nephew, Urwa, who is always learning from her and teaching. And Urwa is the father of who? Hisham. And Hisham, then he is the one who transmits all these hadith. And it's interesting that even some of the Abbasids, as they become Sunni, if you like, it may have been in their interest to push this Zubayrid as well. Because their own historical angle would have been Shia, which they distanced themselves from. And the earlier Sunni version would have been Umayyad, and they don't want to be part of that. So this Zubayrid thing may have been a bridge, and hence Mansur, I believe it was Mansur, he commissions Hisham and gives him a very generous grant, and he brings him to Baghdad, I believe, or brings him back to Iraq, and he comes on 3 occasions, but he's commissioned, and even when Hisham passes, is it when? I believe when Hisham passes away, the caliph comes to pray for him. And so there seems to be this very clear bond between Hisham and the caliph. So anyway, the reason I'm getting distracted is to show that, yes, it is true, that line of reasoning, as some Orientalists have said, is a good point. But it is also true, if you think deeper, you will find many motives for some of these ahadith to have been fabricated. I hope that helps. Salamu alaikum. You should invite Daniel Haqiqatju to talk about the Islamic history. It's just not fair. ससुरे को फेर की पड़ी हुई है फेर. It's just not fair to hear your side and not the other. Acha, 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 acha. Your side, my side. My side, your side. Acha, acha, acha. Well, I don't think this is my side of Islamic history. This may be my analysis on what was going on in Islamic history, but this is not my side of Islamic history. And Danny Boy is more than welcome to come anytime he wants. I have invited Danny Boy on many an occasion, if I can find it right here.
The great, the genius, Danny Boy.
Danny Boy.
Boy. Mentally challenged, my boy. Mental boy.
So I have invited Danny Boy on many an occasion. However, Danny Boy does not have the fortitude. I hear. I still am extending a warm welcome to Danny Boy. If you hear this, come on, yar. Come on, Mind Trap. Let's have a discussion on whatever you'd like us to speak about, huh? Islamic history. Speaking of Danny Boy, right? So, all right. So Danny Boy has posted this, that what he said is any sheikh. So those of you that don't know, China has now come up with another COVID test, which involves swabbing. But as the person said, your side, they say your side, but backside. Your side, offside, backside. Okay. Oh, okay. Near side, offside, backside. So the problem is that China has now said, look, we've got a new swabbing technique, people, and these tests, yaar, kuch Go get into ruku. Well, on the bright side, he's like, huh? He's like, wait a minute. If this is my thermometer, then where's my pen? He's like, huh? Dr. Saab, if you've got both your hands over here, then yeah. So, right, but Danny Boy, as clearly, look, people, if anybody is concerned about the rectal well-being, the rectal well-being of this ummah, the final frontier that can never be damaged, right? Or never ought to be damaged. Because after that, as I've explained in the past, beyond the sphincter is just kufr. Because you know the way they speak always about LGBT and gays, and they'll be like anything but gays. They'll be like, if a person turns homosexual, they'll be like, that is just the ultimate, that is the greatest of kufrs in their books. And they get really concerned, like, so yep, so Danny Boy has got that for this ummah. So as you can see, look, any sheikh that says this is halal must demonstrate by having it done to himself first. So Danny Boy, as you can see, has he is fair play to him. It's good to know someone's got your back. They have concern for your back. So they go, where are you from, backside? Huh? Where are you from? So it's like, yaar, I'm going पीछे का हिफाजत करना, ठीक है? It gives a whole new meaning to cover my back. This is so yeah, but that's Danny Boy's. So you can't say that's halal. This new COVID testing. I don't know how they're gonna do how the drive-throughs are gonna work though. Do you just kind of like lean out of the window, just lower the window and just kind of like just fit your rear royal self through there, and then just drive through, and they just swab it. Oh God, boy, this is too. I think COVID is just it's become too much. This one too much. So, but the question is it permissible to do that, to have a swab test like that? And the answer is, of course, if that if that's the test, that's the test. Say, अच्छा, G spot वहाँ पे होता है. Is that the G spot? Well, if you come out of the test kind of in a state of bliss, then well, maybe acha. Is that why? Acha, who put that there? Is that done by God? It's like, so yeah, but it is not haram. Relax. I know Danny Boy is overprotective of the kind of rectal intrusions against this ummah, which is good to know. And so, but it's not haram. A colonoscopy is not haram. You're like, no, I'm just getting it done recreationally. Anyway, so it's not haram, no. Right, so, well, I've missed some super chats. Roses are red. My perception is pink. Long story short, I love you, I think. Vah, 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 vah. Please give us a love poem. Hi. Low. Testosterone has got the low. Let's see if I've got a poem for you guys. Yeah, did I have one here somewhere? I had some poems. Right, so un momentico. Nee. Cha. What's this one? Well, they're not here. So they are not here. I thought they were there, but nope. We'll do a poem. Don't the worry, man. Have I got any books over here? Oh. أروع ما قيل في الحب. Hi. That woof. From the most awe-striking kind of most powerful poems written in love. Shall I read a bit of a snippet? This is in Arabic though. And then oh, there used to be actually one here. Have I read this before? This, I used to read this book when I was first I bought this when I was first in Damascus. I think it was around that time. So wow, so over 20 years ago. Wow. How time flies, people. Huh? How time flies. But here's a poem in here by this poet called Rashid Salim al-Khawri al-Qarawi. And he's contemporary, or was contemporary. I take he's passed away. But he has this poem about this girl that he's fallen for. But I won't read the whole thing, because the thing about Arabic poems is they write them, they're too long. It's like people don't have that. But he says, وَفَاتِنَةٍ كَأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَمَّا حَبَاهَا الْحُسْنَ مَا رَاعَ الْحِسَابَ. Allah. برازيلية وطنا ولكن إلى الأعراب تنتسب انتسابا كأن الورد خضب وجنتيها وغير الحسن لم تعرف خضابا لها لحظ سألت عن المنايا ولاحظني فلم أطلب جوابا. Hi. He says this incredibly attractive girl, as though Allah, when he was setting out her beauty, did it without there was no calculation, as in here calculation meaning he didn't hold back. Unlimited, infinite levels of beauty. It says Brazilian. Hi. Latinas. But Brazilian, where she lives, is Braziliyatin Watanan. But she's also an Arab. Now, there's a lot of Arabs that live in Brazil and South America, over there in South America, right? So, and then he goes on to speak of her cheeks and the redness and hi. And then her eyes. And he says that those, if they could strike you dead, but out of beauty. That's what he means. See, it's weird because when you translate some of these things, he says, goes on to praise her here. وَشَعْرٌ لَامِعٌ لَمْ أَدْرِ مِنْهُ أَلَيْلًا قَدْ أَرَتْنِي أَمْ شِهَابًا. Allah. وَلَمَّا أَنْدَنَا يَوْمٌ وَلَمْ تُطِقْ صَبْرًا فَخَطَّتْ لِي كِتَابًا. says, and the day I was going to leave, she couldn't hold back her patience anymore. So she wrote a book to me, a message. She wrote a message to me. وَلَفَّتْهُ بِمِنْدِيلٍ بَدِيعٍ تَضَمَّنَ لِي دُعَاءً مُسْتَجَابًا. Says, and she folded it up in a handkerchief that came to me to unfold a hidden dua. Wow, 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 wow. تقول حماك ربي يا حبيبي بربك لا تطل عنا غيابا. She said that, for the love of God, don't come back soon. Come back quick. أخذت قلوبنا فاحرص عليها وعجل نحو بلدتنا الإيابة. She says that you're taking with you our hearts. So if you can, عجل تعال حبيبي تعال. So come back as quick as you can. But you see, the twist here is she's actually the wife of his friend. So he goes on to mention, he says, he mentions it later on. He says, وَلَكِنَّ الْحَبِيبَةَ ذَاتُ بَعْلٍ. He says, but this beloved, not beloved in that sense, but this beloved, she is one who has a husband. حَسِبْتُ لِحَقِّ صُحْبَتِهِ حِسَابًا. That to somebody who is reasonably dear to him. So he says, أَبَاحَ لِيَ الصَّدَاقَةَ مُطْمَئِنًّا وَآطَانِي وِدَادًا مُسْتَطَابًا. Somebody who has shown me so much love, like the husband. Not she's also showing love, but his love is different one, different one. So he says, إِذَا نَادَ الْهَوَى وَالْعَقْلُ يَوْمًا فَصَوْتُ الْعَقْلِ أَوْلَى أَنْ يُجَابَ. He says, if one day both the heart and the mind, and the brain and the intellect cry out to you, it's better that you respond to the intellect. And he says, وحررت الجواب لها بشعر حكى نظما ثناياها العذابا وصالك جنتي ولكن نفسي تفضل في محبتك العذابا لأقضي في الهوى العذري وجدا ولست أخون في الود السحابا. Allah. He said, I wrote to her saying that, having you would be Jannah, but I prefer the adhab instead. He says, I'd rather have a pure love that isn't tainted with betrayal. Oof. You could make a movie out of this. So what is going on, mi gente? What is going on? Let me bring up your... Thank you for doing these streams, Harun. Much love to you. Shukran. Right, so Mufti, right, what are your thoughts? What is your thoughts on Mufti Abdul Rahman ibn Yusuf Mangera? Right, Mangera Sahib. Yeah, you see, Mufti Mangera. Yeah, I mean, I don't have negative kind of views on him or anything, but he is from the kind of, that Hanafi Deobandi kind of crowd that you're going to get. He is very talented. He's very intelligent. He is very, from that kind of, he's probably one of the leading talents, really, in, if you want to call it academia or ilmi, teachings and expeditions. That's really who else? I mean, you're going to have people like Sheikh Riyad al-Haq. You're going to have, but he's from that same school, as in that same kind of league as them. And he's seen as very kind of ilmi, academic, does his research, but it is ultimately very closed, Deobandi kind of thinking. It's not something, they would never think out of the box. They wouldn't really be down with other people going out of the box. I mean, my impression of him is he's not as like you get some of these other nutcases and stuff like that. He's not like that, but he is very loyal to his school of Deoband. Okay, so there is that dogma clearly, and he wouldn't really ever teach outside of that dogma. But he's not like some of these people who, they don't even know very much, or they don't. So that's my kind of thoughts. It's a shame, really, because I feel that, in many ways, if you're not part of the solution, you're still part of the problem. I have actually in the past, I did a course. I delivered a kind of a conference. I participated in a conference alongside him. It was in the Netherlands. So Netherlands or Netherlands, yeah. So, and it was good. And to be fair, he was very respectful, and um, yeah. But I remember he was at one point, because somebody took a photo of us, and he came and he said, oh, he was like, are you going to put those photos up on social media? Please, can you not put any photos with me in there? And I was like, yeah, okay, but you do know this is a recorded event that's going to be on social media. You do know that. So yeah, that said, many years ago in Damascus, before I became Maliki, I was Hanafi, and one of the people I did actually study with was him. So, and I'm grateful for that. I'm great. He obviously can't remember it. I spoke to him about it, and he was like, I don't remember at all. That's fascinating when you think about it. Yeah. I was very early in my journey. So very early. I had just turned 18. I flown off to Damascus, new country. And I wasn't, growing up, I think we were, relatively speaking, we like that little community or whatever we were within Birmingham, but we were in an area called Handsworth. And just maybe it's just people or generally, but also people I was around were very sheltered. I don't think we had a kind of, that. I mean, that's a different discussion in and of itself. But so flying off to a new country, doing all of these things were almost unbelievable. But they happened, alhamdulillah, and it was a big step. But when I was there, within maybe 4 or 5 months of me being there, I had signed up to, actually, within about 4 months, I signed up to Damascus University. And that's where I met him, Dr. Or I think he's a doctor, Mufti Mangera. He's, you just see, Abdul Rahman Mangera. I thought for a moment, I thought, is it Abdul Rahim, Abdul Rahman? So I met him, and it's interesting that he had turned up to Damascus University in the whole, the whole gear, and he was, I don't know whether he used to study there or not, but he wasn't in my class, but I used to see him sometimes. So I started speaking to him, and I remember he told me that he'd graduated from this alim course. So I said, okay, what, tell me about that. So he started telling me, and he was really proud of the Indian ilmi heritage, what the subcontinent Desi ulama have produced. And they obviously, some things that it's unquestionable, there is, credit where credit is due. So he goes off really, saying, you don't understand. We study Bukhari, we study Abu Dawood, cover to cover, we study all these things. And he was one of the first people to actually kind of inspire me a bit like that. Like, I want to do that as well. I was already on this path to learn, but I wasn't, But one thing he definitely inspired me to do, and that I'm grateful. So this he kind of did, this Dawra Hadith thing, but not fully. That was somebody else I met after him who kind of really, he had just come back from Pakistan, and he told me about all these things, and that really did it for me. But at this stage, he raised interest. But he had this one day, he was carrying, this is Mufti Mangira, he was carrying this large certificate. He's kind of walking around he had it rolled up and he was carrying it in Damascus University. Right? So I go up to him, just shake hands and chat, and I said, "What's that?" And he opens it. It's like this, this massive um, ijaza he has in the Quran. So he says, "This is my ijaza in the Quran." So I said, "What's that?" And he says, "Well, this goes back to the Prophet, and I've read it to this person. I've read the whole Quran, and then he's granted me this." And I said, "Well, how does somebody get that?" And he said, "Well, you should memorize the Quran." And a person, like, I suppose he wasn't saying it to me, you should memorize, but he was just saying, a person should memorize, and then if they've memorized, they could get an ijaza. So that really made me think, wow, like I would really like that. I thought that's just, I don't, it just, I suppose Allah kind of puts it in your heart. But he was that person that kind of first showed me that and mentioned that. And even though at that stage, I didn't think I could do it, I just thought, wow, I would love to be able to receive that. And so it kind of created this maqam, this presence of it in my mind, this value with it. Now, then there was this in my class, in my Damascus Arabic class, there was this American black guy, really kind of cool. I wish I could really connect with some of these people now. I suppose the shame part is I don't even remember that guy's name now, but because we weren't always together in the same class and stuff. But he was there. He was from America. I remember that, and he was very had this kind of swag about him. He was a convert, and so this is the year '98, um, and he was doing Hifth. Now I totally didn't expect it. Me, sheltered, stereotypical. Back then, and here's a convert, and last thing you expect is converts memorizing the Quran. And so I'm chatting to him. We used to really get on and chat, but he seemed really, for me at that time, he seemed really liberal, laid back, and I used to think, wow, like, how come he doesn't get disturbed by all these like music and all these things? Because I had been taught haram, 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 haram. I'm gonna go to hell, 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 hell. So this guy, one day, he's that I'm with, who's in my class, he had this small little Quran, just a juz or something, and he was reading it. So I said to him, "Ah, mashallah, you're reading the Quran." And he said, "No, I'm just going over what my lesson is today." So I said, "What's your lesson?" So he said, like, what it is every day I memorize a certain portion of the Quran. So this smacked me in the face, this metaphorically, like, I'm telling, this was such a wake up call for me. It was like a I was like, what? And he said, like, I memorize a certain portion of the Quran every day. So here's this guy, and I'm being judgmental here. This is back then, 1998. Because I was in the full thobe and all of that kind of stuff, and wearing jeans, wearing a t-shirt, cool guy, got that swag, American, like that kind of, almost like that Will Smith kind of effect, that kind of person. And he's telling me, "Oh, by the way, I memorize a portion of the Quran every day." I said, "Well, how where do you memorize it?" And he said, "Anyway," he said, like, he said, like, for example, on the way to uni, he said, "I will just, when I catch the bus," he says, "I've got half an hour. I just go over it then. And then I go over it again during the day." And I said, "How much do you memorize?" So he said, like, so he kind of opens the Mus'haf, and he says, "Look, like I'll do half a page, and I just do about half a page a day." So I have to say, wallahi, I felt on one hand so inspired, and on the other hand, I felt so embarrassed. Because I thought, this is so embarrassing for me. I thought, like, in my mind, because I kind of felt that, look, here is a person who's embraced Islam. Yeah. He has enough motivation to learn the Quran. And what about me? I've come here to study Islam, and I'm not memorizing the Quran. And I thought, and this guy can do it on the way to uni in a bus. So from that day, I began memorizing. And alhamdulillah, I then memorized the Quran. But the reason I mention this story is because those two people, for memorizing the Quran, I am, indebted to them, I guess, for that. So I actually did tell Mufti Mangera this when we met in Netherlands. I told him, but he couldn't remember it. He was like, he said, I remember going to uni. I remember having that certificate. You're right. I remember I used to carry it with me, rolled. He could remember all the details, just couldn't remember me. I'm like, don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it. So, and this other brother, I wonder, honestly, I don't even know his name, which is embarrassing now. But yeah, I would love to reconnect. I mean, I wonder if people know people who were in Damascus in the late 90s. If so, put us in touch. Cool, guys. Let's move on to some of your questions. There's another super chat coming through. All right, Dervish, you're doing it, man. You're doing it. Much love, much love. All right, so have you heard of Paul Williams? Who's Paul Williams? Paul Williams. Sounds a bit familiar. Is that a is that a Mus? Right, I'm probably mixing him up. What's your opinion on Imam Shatibi? Imam Shatibi is a legend, absolute legend of the Islamic heritage. There's two Shatibi. I mean, there's two popular Shatibis, by the way. There's Abu al-Qasim al-Shatibi and there's Abu Ishaq al-Shatibi. Both are from Shatiba, which is in Muslim Spain. I do have, it's quite a few years old, but it's still, if you're into history, I have an audio series of Al-Andalus, the history of Al-Andalus, on YouTube. It is in audio. I may redo it at some point, but so it is a bit old. The equipment, I suppose, record. Actually, it's definitely audible and everything. But obviously, back then, I think I must have done it in 2013 or something. So, but it's still, if you're into it, you can check it out. It's 12 different lectures on the history, the rise and fall of Muslim Spain. Now, Imam Shatibi, so Abul Qasim is the one who has the Qira'at book. So whenever you're hearing about these Quran discussions, the variants and so on, they quote Shatibi. That Shatibi or the Shatibiyah, his famous poem, that's Abul Qasim al-Shatibi. That's a different person. This guy is different. His name is Abu Ishaq al-Shatibi, and he's the famous Maliki scholar, and he's the kind of real founding father of maqasid today, this whole objectives of the Sharia. It was always within the Maliki madhab anyway, the objectives of the Sharia, but he writes his book Muwafaqat and it becomes a thing. Before Shatibi, it may have existed, but he really brings it to life. And everybody after him is just indebted to him. So, yeah, I absolutely love him for that aspect. Obviously, he's Maliki, so there's that bond as well. Right, so Look at this. What is, hey, my patriarch is in Damascus. Who's your patriarch? All right. So Lebanon is beautiful. Lebanon is beautiful. I mean, I was in Damascus. Somebody said Mia Khalifa is from Lebanon. Well, that's good to know as well. Right, so yeah, people who've popularized the hijab, huh? That's a discussion that people, I guess, really, Muslims are not ready to have. But a discussion is that, you see, the hijab has become a highly sexualized, fetishized genre. You haramis, don't act like you don't know. Abe salo. Sabke sab harami hai. Sabke sab haram. The first person who says, huh? Acha. Sal usko pakdo. Catch him. He go to his history. So, I mean, I wouldn't know if I hadn't read about it. History, delete. So, yeah, now it's interesting. That's a discussion people ain't prepared to have. But in all honesty, you see, it's a game changer because game changer. It's a Copernican moment. Copernicus और ये hijab और ये phone ये क्या हो रहा है बाबा? So, you see, because hijab and niqab have become highly sexualized, especially the hijab, in just as a pure sexual fetish. You see, in these circumstances, it would really pose the question that, okay, so if hijab was in essence to desexualize, but in this day and age, and these things, I mean, it's just naive people like us who don't know about them. Acha, ye kya ho raha hai? Main kahan pe hu? Where am I? Kya ho raha? Unlike us simple folks, but the rest of the world knows this, right? So, what, is it still something which should be pushed by those who say push it? Obviously, I don't believe the hijab is mandatory anyway, and I've got a video on that. The hijab, what we're calling the khimar, the head covering. But those who do believe that, what about this? Because this is, I mean, you could just play dumb. You could just put your head in the sand. But the truth is that it is highly, I mean, it's something that is, it's not just like a few people. You'll be surprised. So my sources tell me. I hope they're not lying. I mean, I don't know what this. मुझे तो कुछ पता ही नहीं है. मैं तो what's यार ये. अच्छा ये it's what? It's अच्छा. So, but seriously, that you see that this is a conversation though that needs to be had. That, well, is it still something of modesty? I would say today it's not something of modesty. I would say today it is just represents either a cultural. See, this is the irony. It represents a cultural dress. It represents culture, or it can, and it may be a minority, but it's a growing minority, a fringe, if you like. It represents a sexual fetish. So now you're going to have these people who, for example, let's say they watch this kind of porn. Sickos. Disgusting, despicable people. Yeah. But you're going to get these people. Now, when they go out and see normal women, regular women, let's say, I don't mean kind of not sexualized, just dressed normally. That's just normal for them. But when they're going to see a woman with hijab, it's going to trigger a sexualized look towards that woman, because they only see that kind of stuff, or they see a lot of it. Sorry, not only, but they see a lot of it only associated with a sexual fetish. So the brain would have that association. So in these circumstances, should these things still be pushed forward by fatwa and the sharia? And I would argue that under those circumstances it shouldn't. So I mean, it can obviously, I mean, if people want to still do it as part of the culture, they can do it, but there is this understanding people need to be aware of, that all the other when you're meeting Tommy and what they a lot of people, they non-binary, they are seeing that, you see, the mental associations. You naughty. Hijab, they're gonna be like, you teasing me? Assalamu alaikum. So people, this is a conversation that Muslim scholars are not prepared to have, but it's the truth, man. Hard truth, but I'm just being honest about it. Right, somebody says, Paris is beautiful. Yeah. So Surah, what's this guy on about? See, some people in the comments are saying, see, they're giving their expression. Here's one person right there. Pakadlo Saleko. Catch him. Right, so he's definitely one of those few million views. He's one. Right, so somebody said, according to my research, the hijab is sexy. And you see, you can understand that because it's a kind of because it kind of has this connotation of innocence, and it has this connotation of this kind of chastity. It does have that connotation. Obviously, that's what it's there for, but hence it's a taboo, and taboos are what get sexualized. So, that's the Chacha Freud giving you the perspective. Right, so Zulfi says, my super chat, Flat Earth 101. Isaiah says, for real flat earth info, Jesus is a flat earther. Chotu with a Motu says, Mufti Saab, can you put on a hijab? I want to see what you look like. What going on here? This one, hijab on men fetish. Toba. End of times, any cuz end of times. Acha. Let me see. Right, so acha, gali, swearing to me on my chats. Right, so ban visual adultery, reinstate mut'a. Could be. Right, so what else is going on, people? What else? Any plans on coming to Bradford soon? Yeah, wouldn't mind, but lockdown. Mufti G, take your shit. Scandal, these people are trying to get me done over. This is where, What about a fetish for men in burqas instead? See, but it doesn't work as much the other way, because you see, it's men who drive a lot of these things, because for men, for the most part, it's always visual. Mufti misses my super chat. Let's find this guy's super chat, yar. How would you respond? No, I've done that. Gateway, I've done that. Roses are red. Thank you for doing these streams. Mufti, what justice between wives means? Does it mean equal sex? Yeah. Huh? Or just material things? Or spiritual things like, I like the split, spiritual or material? Because I cannot be equal in my feelings for both. Still, I want to do polygamy. You're Trevosky Sanda. You're doing it, man. You're doing. See, these things are the equality means. It doesn't mean a mirror. It means a fairness based on that understanding that you have. So whatever that fairness is, that's what it would mean. So for example, some people may not be expecting certain things, some people may be expecting something else, and some people, so whatever it is, you have an understanding that is fair, and you're not oppressive. Hi Mufti, salam from Wisconsin. Hadith that describe the end of time say there will be no one left who believes in Allah. Is this a Sahih Hadith? You see, most hadith to do with the end of times, these apocalyptic hadith, most of them are usually made up. So as Imam Ahmad said, that there's certain genres that have no basis in Sunnah, and one of them was the ashrat, right? The kind of end of times and the signs that will come. The ashrat and the fitan, right? So this is $5 just for sharing that story and taking me down memory lane. I love the studying Hifz days, miss those days. Well, Jawad, you're doing it. You're doing it. Yeah, much love, much love. It's fun to share some memories sometimes, huh? Claire, you're doing it as always. Pleasure to have you online. Ifzal, Muhammad Bucks. Right, I think I've caught up with all of those super chats now. Yep, I believe so. Right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, these things, memories, huh? Memories. Right. Speaking of memories, did I tell you, I was chatting with some of the lads that came up, right? So we were speaking about the, my, my encounter with the Egyptian Shurta al-Misriya, the Egyptian police. I don't know if I've told you. Have I told you guys this this story? Right. So, okay, I'll tell you what. Let me tell you what the hell. I've got to cover the other topics, but chalo yaar. I'll share a little story with you. Yeah, Egyptian police. Egyptian police. So this, yeah, I must have told you guys the time when I got kidnapped when I was in Cairo. So I won't go into all of that. That another day. That's the whole emotional roller coaster turbulence event. But anyway, so I was there on this kind of imam's training course. So this is going just under a decade ago. So this is going about 8 years ago. Maybe about 9 or 8 years, something like that. So anyway, following the kidnapping thing, so the Al-Azhar, we were guests at Al-Azhar. So they had said, they were obviously very, what the hell? Yeah, I mean, the kidnapping thing, I'm sure I've mentioned that. I'll mention that I'll go into that some other time. But that was like I got kidnapped and robbed and so on. And then they kind of just dumped me at this, God knows, this bloody outside of Cairo. But the whole thing was that Al-Azhar were really kind of like, whoa, in a huff and a puff. And, this is obviously a disgrace and a dishonor because these people have come from England because we'd gone there formally. There were a group of imams and doing training. And I got kidnapped on the first night. I don't know, it's bloody crazy. This is after the revolution, you see. After the revolution, for about a year, there was a lot of there was a massive spike in crime because the police was a bit neither here neither there. They didn't know what their future was going to be. So people had kind of obviously work had been impacted, and crime and robbing and theft and kidnapping and all this had risen like massively. So anyway, forward the story. So Al-Azhar are like, what the hell? We need to kind of sort this out. Let's take you to the police. So anyway, they get this top-notch lawyer, and they make an appointment, and they take me there to the station. So go into this room, and it's a massive, long room, yeah. So probably something like, let's say, I don't know, at least about 10 meters long, 5 meters wide, like quite a reasonably large enough room, which is pretty much empty. And there's just one desk, right? And you've got this copper sitting there, this inspector, and he's got that kind of scarf on, and he's sitting there, and he's got his kind of like legs up, his feet up on the desk, and he's got this old school TV, and he's just watching that, yeah, and he's got like his coat on and a scarf on, it's a bit nippy, and that's all he's doing. So we go in now. Me, there's someone else, there's the lawyer. We go in, they've got this appointment, they turn up, and he sits down, and he tells me that, look, listen, I'll do all the talking, don't worry, you just sit there and, let me handle it. So I said, yeah, cool. So we go in, and he sits in front of the copper, and he's talking to the copper, and the copper ain't interested. He's just like so annoyed to that, this guy's disrupting my TV viewing. So he's sitting there like this. He's got both kind of feet up on the desk. And he's like, like this. And so this guy says to him, look, please, this is what's going on. This guy this happened. He got kidnapped. He's from blah, 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 blah. So he's doing this whole kind of, he's trying to give him the spiel. So that guy says, yeah, first of all, he tries to ignore him, and then he can't. He says, okay, what? So he says, look, this is the thing. Now, I had some detail, because I remembered that what had happened was, you see, because the kidnapping, the thing was done by this taxi driver and somebody that was in on it with him, his kind of friend. So they had taken me, first of all, I had asked them that take me to a restaurant or something. So they had taken me to this place, this matam. Now, what had happened was, at that place, that guy had seen like my wallet and stuff, and that's where he must have thought that, let's get this. So anyway, I told them that, look, when I was at that restaurant, the waiters knew this person because the way they greeted him and stuff. So that's clear in there. You just go to those waiters, ask them. That's your point. So this officer, he's sitting there, and he listens to the solicitor, the lawyer, and he goes, He goes to him, you, shh, like, okay, he asks me, right? And I tell him, look, if we go to that restaurant, we know. He goes, I didn't ask about that. He says, I've asked you, when they kidnapped you and dumped you, where did they dump you? So I had obviously come to learn the road that I was dumped on. It was called Tariq al-Mansouriya. So it's outside of Cairo, going to this town called Mansouriya. So he goes, so he opens up this map, and he goes, where were you dumped on this map? So I say, look, I don't know. Like, I'm obviously I'm not from here. And so he goes, no, just take a guess. Where do you think you were dumped on this map? So I said, well, I don't know. Like, the guy said to me that you're still a bit far from Mansouriya, because I had asked for directions along the way. And so I said, I don't know, was I about here, halfway, or I don't know, where was... So he said, yeah, see, he goes to the lawyer, look, he's about here, okay? Now this is out of my jurisdiction, so you need to go to the other... you need to go to the other police station and let me get back to watching what I was watching. So now the solicitor gets all, what the hell? Like, basically, he's told us get lost. So the solicitor says, he gets on the phone, calls some superior, and then he hands it to him. He says, "Here, it's your dad on the phone." This guy, yes, sir, yes, sir. Somebody says to him, "Listen, you better help this guy and do all of this, whatever." So this officer goes, "Okay." So he says to me that, "Do you remember where you got dropped off?" So I said, "Look, I don't, yeah." But he goes, "No," he goes, "Basically, okay, we're going for a drive. You, like, to me," he goes, "with me. The others can follow behind in a police van." So I said, "All right, cool." So I'm riding up front. I'm driving with this copper, yeah. He's got this kind of like Jeep 4x4. We're driving down, and he goes to me, "Look, okay, we're going to get on track to that road, and then you start giving me directions." So I said to him, "Look, I won't be able to remember. I'm telling you now. It was my first. I hadn't even been in the country for 12 hours. How would I?" But surprisingly, I actually started recognizing the place. I actually shocked myself. I didn't think, you start recognizing, oh, yeah, I do remember that shop. I do remember this. So as we're driving, he says to me, "Look, when you went to that restaurant, yeah." He says, "Be honest with me. Did you have a little, the odd brandy? Did you have a little to drink?" So I said, "No, no, no, I don't drink." So he's like, "What?" He's like, "You don't." So he kind of like, he stops the car and he goes to me, "What?" So I go to him, "Look, I thought, damn, this guy's going to get offended. He probably drinks." So I said, "Look, I don't care if people drink, but I don't drink." So he goes, "Ah, okay." So then he starts kind of driving. So we start chatting and he's asking me. Surprisingly, I'm remembering a lot of the way. I honestly did not think I could. But when I was there, I actually started recognizing, yeah, I remember reading that. I remember seeing this game shop. I remember, yeah, reading this big billboard. And so we're driving along. And so I said to him, you know what? I was very upset about the whole incident. So I said to him, "Look, I go to him, look, listen, if we catch the guy," I said, "if we catch this guy," because he was kind of like saying, these haramis and whatever. He was kind of bad mouthing them. So I said, "Look, if we catch him, could you give me give me 5 minutes with him? It's Egypt after all." So some tender loving care that I could also give to him. So he said, so he goes, "Look, yeah, no problem, no problem. If we catch him, he goes, I'm gonna give you 5 minutes with him." Then he goes, "What we're gonna do is," he goes, "we're gonna get him, wa nabulu ali. We're gonna urinate all over him." And he goes to me, "You are gonna take a piss. You're gonna urinate all over him, okay?" So I said, "What?" I said, "No, no, no." So he slammed emergency brake, slams the car to a standstill. And he goes, "What?" So I was like, "Whoa, what?" And he goes, "La tabula Ali." He goes, "You're not going to take a piss over him." So I was like, no, I don't want to." He was like, "What?" And he got really worked up. So he goes, "What?" So I go to him, "Oh, okay, okay." I go, "Okay, I'll I'll take a leak as well." He goes, "Good." He goes, "We all nabulu alayh. We're gonna all we're gonna take a collective leak over this guy, okay? Okay." So I go, "Okay, man, we're gonna all right, we're gonna nabulu alayh." Then he starts driving off. But anyway, I just wanted to share that. What happens is we get to this point where he says, "Do you want to go left or right? Where do you go here?" And I said, "Look, I honestly can't remember." So he stops the car and he says to me, he says, "Look, listen, you're Muslim, yeah? I'm Muslim. He goes, you're Pakistani, yeah? I'm Egyptian. We're brothers. He goes, Nahnu ikhwa, we're Muslimin. So I go, yeah. He puts his arm around me. I thought, is he about to take a leak? I thought, does it start here? Is this the... He goes to me, look, you can be honest with me, yeah? Were you drunk at the time? I go to him, look, I wasn't drunk at the time. I'm telling you, I wasn't drunk. He goes, I don't get, if you weren't drunk, why can't you remember at this point whether the car went left or right? I said to him, look, I thought, I said, look, I honestly can't remember. I'm surprised I remembered all this. So I said to him, look, I don't know. So he goes to me, okay, I've got an answer for you. So I go, what's your answer? He goes, look, I'm going to pull up over there. You and me are going to get out the car. You're going to point to this place and say, they dropped you off here. Okay. So I go, oh, okay. He goes, no. He goes, but this is our secret. Okay. He goes, I'm not going to tell them that you don't know. This guy's acting like he's doing me a favor. So I was like, okay, I don't. He goes, no. So he goes, don't worry. He goes, I got you. So he jumps out the car and he goes, So I step out the car. He goes, He goes, Una. Here. Cha. So the van pulls up and he goes, yeah. He goes, we've got the spot. It was here. They dropped him off. So the lawyer goes, okay. And he goes, and this falls under the jurisdiction of that police station. So you guys need to go there. You Egyptian police. But people, Nabulu alay, huh? This is the fond memories. But there you go. Let's move on, people. Let's move on. Right. So, Sayyid Nomiruddin, shukran. May Allah bless you too. Right. Shukran for the super chat. You're doing it. Right. Kali Auntie says, blow kiss at Mufti. Right back at you. I don't get it. Don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it. Are you practicing Muslim? Why do you drink with your left hand? I'm practicing the art of drinking with the left hand. For the record, this is actually my right hand. As you can see, these writings, they are... Obviously, you guys can't read Arabic. Not you guys, but that person definitely can't. But yeah, Mufti on fleek. All right, you're doing it. Right, let's take a look, people, at... Let's get to some more of the serious stuff. People are like, yeah, does this Mufti ever... People... All right, so... I'd been asked about this. I thought, look, let me shed some light. This is, those of you that don't know, to do with the verse in Surah Ma'idah. I believe it's verse 31. Speaking about the two sons of Adam. Now, Allah doesn't mention who they are, but Abel and Cain, the classic story that you have right there. And it's followed by Cain murdering Abel. And so Allah mentions, A'udhu billahi minash shaitan rajim, Watlu alayhim naba ibn Adam bil haqq, and narrate unto them the story of the two sons of Adam, rightfully so. إذ قربا قربانا فتقبل من أحدهما ولم يتقبل من الآخر. When they both offered a sacrifice, but it was accepted from one. Now it's interesting that here even Allah uses the word tuqbila in the the passive sense, that it was accepted. Not saying that we accepted it. Even though that's obviously the understanding here, that Allah accepts it. But it's interesting that what did acceptance mean? They were obviously associating a meaning with it. But that acceptance would have been some kind of ritual that they would have come up with. You understand? So they both do something, and then whether one of them, this happens to it, one of them floats, the other sinks, or one this happens, one that happens. You see, they would have been meanings that they would be naturally associating. Obviously, ultimately, Allah is, the ultimate planner of things in that sense. So, but it's interesting that Allah mentions فَتُقُبِّلَ وَلَمْ يُتَقَبَّلْ مِنَ الْآخَرِ قَالَ لَأَقْتُلَنَّكَ. He said, I will kill you. قَالَ إِنَّمَا يَتَقَبَّلَ اللَّهُ مِنَ الْمُتَّقِينَ. He said, God accepts from those who have God consciousness. Now, here he says, لَإِن بَسَطْتَ إِلَيَّ يَدَكَ لِتَقْتُلَنِي مَا أَنَا بِبَاسِطٍ يَدِيَ إِلَيْكَ. He said, look, one of the brothers, he refuses to take up violence. He says, look, if you extend your hand to me with harm, I will not meet you with harm. So I won't fight back. Inni akhafu Allah Rabbul Alameen. He said that I fear God, that should I be responsible for bloodshed. He says, Inni uridu an tabu'a bi ithmi wa ithmik fatakuna min ashabin nari wa dhalika jaza'u dhalimin. He said, I would rather that you take the sin, or you take the responsibility, this crime, if that's what you want to do, and you bear its responsibility, and you will suffer damnation for that. But I'm not going to kill you in return or fight back. Now, فَطَوَّعَتْ لَهُ نَفْسُهُ قَتْلَ أَخِيهِ. So Cain, obviously doesn't mention here, but the general story is it's Cain. He justified to himself murdering his brother, like his self got the better of him. فَقَتَلَهُ, and he killed his brother. فَأَصْبَحَ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ, and he became of those who have lost or who have suffered loss in this world. Now this part here, it mentions فَبَعَثَ اللَّهُ غُرَابًا يَبْحَثُ فِي الْأَرْضِ لِيُرِيَهُ كَيْفَ يُوَارِي سَوْءَةَ أَخِي قال يا ويلتى أعجزت أن أكون مثل هذا الغراب فأواري سوءة أخي فأصبح من النادمين. So here then Allah mentions a crow, a raven comes. Allah says He sends it. Now obviously here in the sense that Allah is ultimately in control of things, this raven seems to search about or do something with the earth. Okay. Now, liyuriyahu, so Cain can learn from this, or he comes to learn from this event of what this raven is doing, that how to cover up the ugly state of his brother. قال يا ويلتا, he says to himself, he has this internal dialogue, that what have I done? That, he says that can I not be at least like this raven, this crow that you can see here? Could I not at least be like that and cover up the ugly state of my brother? Now, first of all, right, just mentioning here one moment. So just to kind of sum up what's going on, and then I'm going to go into certain insights. You see, this verse mentions that a raven turns up. It's not too clear. The verse is not, it's not totally ambiguous, but it leaves room for different interpretation, different readings of what is happening, with an overall similarity. Like there's a huge overlap in what's happening, but the detail, there's so much room for interpretation. I don't just mean interpretation, but in how to read it. So it could be read as an example that you read that this raven turns up, and it says yabhath, which actually means to kind of search in the earth. So it's doing something to the soil, and it says liyuriyahu. Now, so he may, or it may show him. Now we know it may show Cain, but who may show Cain? The raven or God may show Cain? Like, who's trying to teach here? in my understanding, this is talking about God. But some people have understood from it the raven. Now, then it mentions the raven is doing this liyuwari sawata akhi, so that he or it may cover the ugly state of his or its brother. So once again, is it that the raven, there was a dead raven there, and this other raven comes and it's doing something, it's observing and it's doing this? Is this in a way so that the raven may cover the other raven? Or is it that Cain learns from this so he may cover his own brother? Once again, because the verb doesn't mention the subject, you could be reading it as the raven, you could be reading it as Cain. Both readings are equally valid. They're not like one is invalid. These are not interpretations, these are readings, how to read the actual verse. Who is it going back to? And you can see here that, as I will show you, that look, oh, right, no. Right, no. Right, so Ibn Ashur highlights these differences as well that I've mentioned. By the way, he mentions this, and he highlights that, look, this is you can take either of these meaning. He says, look, either is valid, but this is the understanding that I'm looking at. Okay, that they've had this fight. He's killed his brother. He's left him in a very ugly state, because it mentions sawata akhi, that this ugly state to look at is called sawa in Arabic, and he's just there. Now, why a raven? I think it's incredibly interesting that Allah mentions this. Some people have understood from this that, oh, Cain was the first person to invent a grave. Prior to this, humans didn't have graves. I don't think that's true, because human beings have been burying their dead for about 100,000 years now. I mean, prior to the cognitive revolution. And there's some thoughts on whether Neanderthals, some may have had some kind of funerals as well. So I don't think it's this. Some ulama have a lot of ulama, you might read this in tafsirs in the past, they said, oh, maybe he's the first person to invent a burial. I don't think that was the case at all. And I think the fact that Allah has mentioned a ghurab is very interesting. You see, corvids, whether it's going to be a crow or a raven. Now, ravens are usually slightly larger than crows. These are, you see, these are very fascinating creatures, incredibly fascinating. Now, in recent times, crows have been associated with negativity, been associated with death or bad news or something, a disaster or something. This is what they've been in recent times associated with. But if you go far back in history, several millennia, you will see that crows were actually associated with life, with life and resurrection and spirit, and it was actually, they were seen in a very positive light previously. It is only in the last, 2 centuries, just under, sorry, not centuries, 2 millennia, that you have this kind of negative rep that they start to get. And maybe it's because people freaked out because of them and stuff like this. But generally, they were seen really revered in ancient history. And they seem to also represent an archetypal feature. Now, why? Many people overlook the fact that crows are some of the most intelligent creatures on earth. I mean, obviously not human, keeping human beings out of the picture, But as far as animals are concerned, crows are incredibly intelligent. Okay, they can do things like they have abilities such as keeping track of numbers, recognition. They can facial recognition. So humans, we have a certain region in our brain called the FFA, facial fusiform area, which recognizes faces, human faces. But crows are amazing at recognizing human faces. They have unparalleled features. They have been at problem solving, at empathy, at emotions. If I show you as an example some facts right here, that this is fascinating, that look, that ravens and crows are from the same family, which is called corvids, a bit like COVID. But they can spot a cheetah, and check this for a sense of empathy and justice. It's very fascinating. So you get that not only can they spot the birds, they work together for equal amounts. Now, if they notice another raven taking more than his fair share, they immediately lose trust and won't cooperate with them in the future. Now here's another fun fact. You see that they use hand gestures to hold up objects to get each other's attention. Aside from primates, they are the only wild animals that can communicate in this way. So just think about that. Check this. For crows are quite similar to humans and visit their aging parents. Wow, that's I mean, just the thought of that, right? That even after they've left the nest. Now, more fascinating than all of this, people, crows, the concept that crows hold funerals for their dead. Now, what exactly does, I know, and that's something which may seem strange, but you'll have so many articles and things on this. But what does that mean, by the way, when they say crows hold funerals for their dead? Now, it doesn't mean necessarily a funeral the way we understand a funeral, but when crows see a dead crow, one of them will land and they give off this alarm, which calls a bunch of others, and then they stand around this corpse, this dead crow, and they just observe it. They just stand in this kind of silence, just kind of observing it. Sometimes for between 15 to 30 minutes, they'll just stand there. And it's called a mob, okay? And a crowd of crows is called a murder, which is unfair, really. I mean, people have been unfair to crows. They have the intelligence, by the way, it's been argued, of a 6 or 7-year-old human child. That's how intelligent they are. And they've done studies nowadays with computers where they have to kind of like tap the screen, and they have to recognize things, and they pass all these tests unbelievably. But coming back to the funeral thing, they stand around this mob called mobbing. They stand around this dead and just observe. And it's interesting, scientists still ain't exactly sure why they do this. And one of the reasons is that they learn from this dead crow. They see that, is there any reason how it got killed? And they kind of learn from that and pass it on to other crows as well through certain cries, because there's been experiments where certain researchers have so they will go and feed certain crows, so they kind of get them coming to them. Then they will turn up with a particular mask, and they'll lay down a dead crow, and within minutes the crows will start mobbing. One will land, send off the alarm, others land, and they notice that person with the mask. Now, whenever they see that person with the mask, they will send off that alarm. And researchers had made other people wear that mask and walk around, and they will send off the alarm, but not with other masks or with other people. So one theory is that they are learning why this comrade of theirs has fallen. Another reason, which I think is also there, is this sense of empathy. I mean, it's not just me; other researchers have said it, but obviously it's hard to prove these things. But what you just saw about how they visit even their parents after having left the nest, they come back. This sense of empathy that crows have and ravens have. I feel that there is this sense of that empathy. It kind of has this shocking effect on them. And this, if this were the case, that look, a crow lands by its dead. Let's say if this was the Sawata Akhi was in this case, as many Mufassirin say, that there was a dead crow. But you see, Mufassirin said that, oh, maybe two crows came and fought and one killed the other. It doesn't say anything like that. And I doubt that that's what happened. But there may have been a dead crow, and a crow comes and it lands close by and it observes it. Because it says yabhathu fil ard, and it kind of seeks out what's happened to this, and then it stands in this kind of like almost like a sorrowful, remorseful stance. Like if you see, you can go on YouTube and watch crows at what they kind of wake or their funeral. They it seems really, and sometimes they can be wild as well. And sometimes they do things like they may even have sex or whatever, copulate with the dead crow, but it's only been reported like 4% of the time. The majority of the time they won't. They'll just observe when they do. And this, you see, what witnessing that in this raven triggers this sense of remorse in Cain, or at least momentary remorse, where he feels that, damn, like, look, here is a bird, and how it stands over, it almost seems to honor and dignify its dead with a bond that is still lasting. And here was I, that, not only have I killed and left him, so akhi in an ugly state, like how he killed him, it doesn't mention, but it mentions that he's in a horrible, ugly state, bleeding out. He must be maybe torn up, or whether he stabbed him as they would have with those tools and cut him up, or whatever he did. And here's me, just couldn't have a care. And this triggers that sense of remorse. فَأَصْبَحَ مِنَ النَّادِمِينَ. And then he feels that, look, the least I can do is honor him, rather than having scavengers just come and feed off his remains. So it's not that he didn't know what a grave was. He did know what a grave was, but he wasn't interested until he kind of feels this sense of remorse. But it's incredibly interesting that the Quran uses this verse to highlight the role of a crow or a raven. And because even in its archetype, ravens are incredibly powerful. That, it's been argued that men have, because it's only beyond, really, you get certain insects, that things like bees or things that have colonies like ants and termites, who will do things like remove the dead and bury the dead. But that's more so for hygiene purposes because of the colony. But otherwise, to be kind of in a state of shock and almost empathy for their dead is only displayed by crows, corvids. It's displayed by dolphins and elephants mainly. This is not, I mean, you'll get it in primates, but primates because they're so close to humans. But generally in the mammal kingdom, it's not like that. Except with crows. I mean, they're not mammals, but I mean, except with obviously elephants, dolphins, and then crows, or ravens, corvids. So I thought this was definitely worth sharing. Those of you that I did have as well for you, but I may have not. I did have a clip actually. I don't know if it's here. I probably haven't brought it up here, but let me see actually. If it's here, I will bring it up and show it. But it's to do with right, no. Right, okay, here's the clip. I have got it here. Let me show. It was just about ravens. I thought, well, that would be interesting just to show you guys that the ability of to mimic as well is incredibly fascinating. Just here it is. Okay. यार ये हो क्या रहा है? Right, what this one, man? What this one? Why is it not playing it? Oh, there it is. Okay, right, that should work now. If I bring this clip up, now check this out, people. This will. I'll just bring this up here. Can you see them? They have the ability to mimic speech.
You alright? You alright? You alright? I'm alright.
Oh,
You
no, I
alright?
don't think you guys can hear it. Right.
Boop boop. She just wants a head kiss.
Right. Oh, I see why.
Wow.
One more.
Wow.
I'll have to. I did want to share that because it was worth. It was. I know what's. I'll share it as a. It doesn't let you. I think with the media, for some reason, it doesn't let the audio come through as clearly. So I'll share it. Where's it gone? Here it is. As a browser thing. Now check this out, people. This is a raven.
You alright? You alright? I'm alright. You alright?
And just check how they can mimic speech.
She just wants a head kiss.
Wow.
Wow. I've been teaching her so long to do that. That's one of the first times I actually caught that on camera. She's given us a kiss as well.
Are you all right?
What's the matter? What's the matter?
Treasure. Say, are you all right?
What's about?
Make some mischief, are you?
It's amazing, yeah?
Oh, there. Good girl, and again. Go on then. Sing for us. Go on.
Wow. So that, people, I thought that's definitely something fascinating. Let's get rid of that. So I thought definitely I'd share my thoughts on it. What is going on here? Source 1. Right, so let me just bring up your chats. Yeah, I mean the raven, not crow. Yeah, I mean they're both corvids. They're both from the same kind of family. I mean they are slightly different in species in terms of size and the way their tails are, but they are in essence both equal. They are both incredibly intelligent. So, and they can both mimic speech, human speech, just like how parrots do. They can even mimic sentences, and right. So let's move on, people. Somebody said that's not a raven, you kamina. Acha, tera chacha hai kya? It's a parrot in blackface. It's not. They're not parrots. You see, you just don't know. If you Just go onto YouTube, type crow mimicking speech, or just crows speaking, and you'll see that they're actually crows and ravens. Right, so people, let's move on. Yeah. Right, whoa. People, right now, those of you, let's speak a bit about trade in the modern world, people. Allah, Allah, Allah. Look at that, people. Look at that. Wall Street versus GameStop. What did you guys catch the drama? It's been crazy. Wow. Let me give you a quick summary. So what's been going on is basically you have these high-end Wall Street guys who, you know, have their tactics in the way they trade, and you know they quite, there's a lot of kind of snobbery about them, and they have, of rightfully so, I think, a terrible reputation. They were challenged recently by this what you have Wall Street betting on Reddit. Now this was basically a bunch of people. It's a Reddit thing that they've got with, I think, they had over 1 million subscribers who don't like the way the Wall Street kind of hedge fund people are operating. So they decided to do something about it, and it was crazy. So to understand what this is about, you have to have a bit of a tiny amount of kind of knowledge of how trading, whether it's with stocks and shares or in the crypto world, how these things work with margin trade. So margin trade is where you put down a certain amount and the broker will leverage it and meet it with whatever you put down times whatever. So let's say you can do this in cryptocurrency as well. If I put down, I don't know, £1,000, I can only buy with £1,000 worth. So the profit I make is only from £1,000. But if I trade by margin, what that is I put down £1,000. Now let's say the leverage is times 3 in, you know, common in, let's say, Binance or cryptocurrency, then I would have £3,000 worth of buying power. So let's say I paid, if in the normal sale I pay £1,000, I've got, let's say I made £100 profit. Yeah, or let's say overnight or in 2 nights I made £100. But if I had bought with £3,000, it would have been exactly 3 times the amount. So what you do is you leverage it, you have greater profit, and then you repay the leverage. Now, obviously, with this as well, the risk of the jump for losses is equally great. So, but you don't actually end up owing the debt, because what happens is as your margin amount that you put down starts to get eaten into due to the losses, the broker will just liquidate whatever you've put there, and because they won't want to lose their amount. So you don't actually lose more than what you put down, and you can put stop losses and things like that into place. But anyway, that's important to understand for what actually happened. Because then you have this ability on margin trade to sell short. Now, what does that mean? So what that means is, you see, in normal trade, you sell, I mean, it's for long trade, as in you're buying. Yeah, I mean, you can sell something you have, but you can't sell something you don't have in normal trade. But in margin trade and in these kind of hedge fund kind of tactics, you can. So you sell short. So what you do is, normal buying is that I'm buying these shares of this company because it's going to profit. It's going to go up and my shares will go up, and then I can sell it. But what you can also do with this kind of leveraging is you can sell short. You can say, I'm buying this with the hope that this is going to drop in price. It's going to plummet. So what you do is you borrow the asset. So, you're borrowing, let's say, obviously these are shares and, abstract entities, but let's just say it was a phone. So you don't need the phone to sell it. Like I think this phone is gonna lose profit. So this company is gonna lose profit. So what I do is I say, well, okay, I would like to sell 100 of these phones right now. So I want to loan 100 phones. You get it? Like, let's say I want to loan these shares, particular ones. Not the money, but these shares. Once I get these, let's say this phone is now £100 and I've got 100, I'm going to sell them. So I've loaned them and I'm going to sell them, but with the hope that this company is going to sink. So I sell them 100 for 100. I've got that. This company sinks to, let's say, by 50%. Now I buy back 100 and repay the loan to you, and I have 50% profit. So this is called selling short. Now, the problem with this is you can actually cause companies to plummet. Because when these huge bankers and these Wall Street guys get behind this, and they see, because it's not just one person, these people are like an alliance, and they kind of, wield a lot of power, because they will say things like, okay, we're going to sell short on this company. Like Tesla, they tried to, short Tesla. They said, right, and they announce it. So people who have shares get worried and start to sell. So it fulfills their prophecy. And that company loses radical shares and money. And they tried it. This is why Elon Musk obviously hates these people who short trade. And he, because they tried it on him. And this is why, he's part of the saying that this is a crime, except, it's ridiculous that this is even possible. So now, okay, you understand that. Now, fast forward. So what it is, some of these Wall Street guys, they said that we're going to short sell GameStop. And this is like a bullying tactic, because what happens is you could cause the company to almost crash. So, and yes, you may make money in the process, but the company goes, can go bust. So this is what they said. Now, some of these guys on Reddit, this WBS, this kind of forum, this group that they've got, and they've got a reasonable following as well of over 1 million people. They said, you know what, a big FU to these Wall Street bunch of, stuck up, whatever they are. Let's start buying shares in GameStop. Everybody buys shares in GameStop so we can inflate the value. Because you see, what's interesting, pause this for a moment, go back to what I was telling you about short selling. You see, when you buy long, like normal trade, you see, I put down £1,000 and buy some shares in Tesla, let's say. Now, I'm hoping this is going to go up and my profit is unlimited. As long as it can go up, I keep profiting. If it goes down, the maximum I can lose, let's say worst case, the whole company collapses, never happens, but let's say, can happen in some cases, I will lose my £1,000. So my loss still is finite, but my profit is potentially undetermined. Selling short has the opposite. You see, your profit is limited, like as in it's sure, it's good, but there's a number. But if that company starts making profit, you will start becoming in debt, like without a limit. So now you come back to this thing. So these guys said, look, let's start buying shares. Buy shares, everyone, because what's going to happen is the price gets inflated, and these guys, all these kind of Wall Street guys that, I've got the head up the royal end, they will fall into loss, and because they're going to get indebted, they have to buy back the shares, because you remember, I've loaned 100 of these and sold them already, so I need to buy back 100 to sell them back, but now the price has gone much more before what I bought it. So this is what started, and then you get, obviously, so many people just jumped on it, so the price of GameStop just rocketed, taking it into the top 500 companies of the world. It became, it became a unicorn company. So you've got, and these people, these bullies, they obviously in turn got bullied. The whole thing got collapsed because they lost millions and millions, and it really backfired. And on the back of that as well, you've got Dogecoin overnight just rocketed, because they said, all of a sudden, because there was this spur, people said, let's buy Dogecoin. And Dogecoin was originally a crypto coin that was made as a joke. It didn't represent anything. It was a meme. And overnight, it just rocketed. And Elon Musk, it's amazing. He made one tweet. He just said 2 words, buy Doge. And wow, the power. Everybody, that night was a roller coaster. I'm telling you, those of you that were awake that night on crypto, it was just wow. It was so gripping. The whole thing, you could see it was, the crypto world isn't normally like that, but that's not a normal night but it was just going, and whoa, you put money in, people made millions. People, that were made, I'm not saying regular people, but people made loads of money. People made thousands. Regular people made thousands and thousands overnight, but certain people would have made millions and millions. And the interesting thing is, this is all being made on the back of, let's say, Dogecoin, which represents nothing. So for once, like, we are witnessing money being made out of nothing, representing nothing. It's just wow, but yet it's made so many people much richer than they were before it. And that's just wow. When you think about it, it blows the mind, honestly. It reminds me, I shared this with some people as well. I said it reminds me of the quote from that Netflix documentary on India's billionaire bad boys, where one of the guys who trades in diamonds, and he says, he asks the question, he says, what's the price? He says, what's the value of a diamond? What is the value of what value would you give? What is the value of a diamond? And he gives the answer. He says, it's the price the last person who bought it was prepared to pay. And that's, in essence, how value is created. Now, I say this because the Shara'i fiqh, the fiqh, the fatawa of ulama is so out of sync with this world. They have not caught up. They've not even caught up with, this is money 4.0 we're almost at, this kind of cyber money. They're still talking about bartering. The fiqh books are still talking about bartering. I trade this sack of corn for that sack of, they haven't even reached up properly to money, let alone digitalization, let alone this crypto phenomenon. They haven't even, this is way beyond. And so people, I suppose our tradition when it comes to transactions needs to be kind of bumped up and updated. But I thought I'd share that. It's incredibly fascinating to show how the concept of money has changed. Because in the Prophet's time, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, money was based on just hard assets. Now, hard assets are incredibly finite, and it's almost like a zero-sum game that there's only so much gold in this whole vicinity. Now, unless we raid another area and bring in more gold, this gold is stuck. So it's only gonna rotate amongst certain people. Whereas we are now in an age where money is being made literally out of thin air. You see, the whole narrative has changed. So those rulings can't apply. You see, that was for a time where it was only hard assets that were financial tradables. And that was fiat, or that was equity, or that was today. It is abstract. And it is literally being created in front of us out of meaningless abstract concepts like Dogecoin. So, yeah, that's some food for thought. I do believe all of this is permissible. Obviously, there's regulations, but this kind of trading, whether it's CFDs and stocks or shares, or whether it's going to be Forex, or whether it's going to be crypto, whether it's going to be margin trade, isolated, cross margin. I believe all of these things are permissible, but obviously one needs to know as well, be sensible and learn and have, you got to have your kind of an assessment of your losses, have stop losses. I mean, there's all these things are in place. They're already there that you can have a risk management, and a loss, damage control. That, look, I'm prepared to lose. Like in business, you're prepared to lose. People say, oh, it's like a gamble, but yes, but risk was not why things were made haram in Islam. You see, very few things were made haram because of risk. Risk was not the thing. Mukhatara in Arabic was not why gambling was made haram. Gambling was made haram because of the other harms that it was doing socially to people, not because of risk. Just as riba was not haram because of risk, but because of the level of exploitation, unfettered exploitation that was around it. Because otherwise, trade has risk. All these things have risk, right? So it was in the Sharia, it was ma yufdi ilan niza'. So in the fiqh books, they always say that which leads to aggressive disputation, potentially bloodshed, as in fighting, would be made haram. But in a day and age where there's regulations in place and there's rules and you can do damage control, a person like a shop, you could say, look, I tell you what, I'm going to open this. Worst case, it's not going to work. I need 6 months rent beforehand. You do a risk assessment. You say, yeah, well, you know what? Okay, if I lose it, I lose it. If I don't make anything, I don't make anything, but I'll give it a shot. It's the same thing here. You put down certain things for trade. You take, whether it's margins or whatever, you place, or whether it's regular trade, you place a stop loss. Say, you know what? If it hits this much, I can take that loss. It's okay. But I hope I make this profit. This is what I'll go for. And, the rest is, shall I say, luck, right? Or whatever is in your nasib. But I hope that makes some sense. Some people had asked me about these topics, but I definitely thought this is very relevant, this whole Robinhood phenomenon, because Robinhood was obviously the platform they were using to do the trades, so which was aligning itself with Wall Street. And then you've got Reddit and this kind of particular subreddit kind of forum or platform where these nerds or whatever, but these young people manage to, manage to kind of overturn the plotting and planning of Wall Street, and caused them to suffer in millions, literally millions and millions overnight. That's what they did. Wow. सुबह के तख्त नशीं शाम को मुजरिम ठहरे, हमने पल भर में नसीबों को बदलते देखा. Wow. Says that those who at sunrise were, people who sat on thrones, by nightfall became criminals. As in, by sunset, just within the turn of a day. That he says, in moments we've seen people's fortune flip. Wah. Subah ke takht nashi, sham ko mujrim tehre. हमने पल भर में नसीबों को बदलते देखा. Right, people, let's move on. But there are wars now on currency and trade. I mean, there will always be wars on money, as in people are fighting always for more assets, but people who are trading are not warring with each other. So in the past, if you went to their markets and did something in which could lead to an altercation, this was deemed haram, because in the past the person in the market stall carried a sword and you carried a sword, and when he said, I think, blah 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 blah, and there is no regulatory board, there's no government, there's no council, there's no laws in place like that. There's tribal kind of loose overarching rules, but that's it. He would just take out his sword and say, well, okay. Well, there's one way to determine this. Oh, you thought I was going to pick up the calculator? No. The sword. So this kind of stuff doesn't happen. You're trading, you're on your app, you're on your PC, you're trading. Nobody's going to come knock on your door with a sword to kind of kill you because you brought some Bitcoin and it profited. So these kind of things are not haram as far as the world is concerned. Yes, ultimately there will be certain, people who are always playing some games and doing things. That's just the way of the world. Right, so let's move on, people. Let's move on. Right, so I did want to cover jinn possession, people. Jinn possession. But were there any quick questions to take before I move on to that? Stop banning me and my wife, Kali Auntie, please. Gore Chacha and Kali Auntie. Abe, salo. Right, let me check what the Facebook people are up to. Facebook, mi gente, what are some... Right, so... Yep, supporter replying said it's not because a large number of people are buying the stock, it's that they're buying it and holding it. Yeah, but buying it, obviously, if you buy it and you don't sell it, it is obviously holding. You're genius. मान गए वाह 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 Prabhu. The shorters have to buy the shares they shorted back. Obviously, that's what I was giving the example when I was saying, look, if I sell this now, then I have to buy them back. Remember, that's what I was saying. And obviously, if the price is hyperinflated, then I'm at a loss. Because if I have to buy it back to repay it, and, I could lose millions, because you don't understand the hedge funds that are involved. I mean, they're not trading at a low level. This is... Hannah says, we're super well behaved, Mufti. Are there any hadith? Alright. Salim says, Namaskaram. Alright. Salam, Mufti. A question. Right, what is going on? Alright, so people seem to be chilled. Right, let's see. What are some of the YouTube questions? How can I transfer my stocks onto there from Robinhood? Cha. That's the concern, huh? That's the concern. Abe salo. I'm trying to teach you guys about the deen. Right, so... Look, see, Fahad Alam says, Mufti, how are you? Look at that. See, a person who's concerned about my well-being right there, whilst all the other haramis are distracted. He's saying, how are you? I'm good. Alhamdulillah. Look at this. There you go. Immi goes, make me a mod. There you go, Immi. You're a mod. Jao yaar. Maze karo. Yeah, somebody had made a post saying, they sent me a message saying, if Mufti Abu Layth was stocks, I'd buy so many shares because of his legacy for the future. I was like, wow. He said, I hope you live to see your legacy. I was like, yaar, salo, emotional kar dete ho, jazbati kar dete ho mujhe. I get the emotional, this one not nice. No, it's right. So that's look at all of this. Mufti, can I have this status back? Please, please. Yeah, okay, that's enough for today now. Right, I've done 3 mods today. Yeah, bas, this is because it's the 200th episode. Yeah, Raj, Darya Dil bane hue, Darya Dil. Mamta beh rahi hai, Mamta. Woo! So, what is going down? Fahad, Geo yaar, Geo. Mwah. There you go. So, yaar, ab kya karoge? All these muftis, everyone except me. Chalo yaar. You know what? Yeah, Lord Geo. Look at this final one. That's it now. Enough done for today. Karima, I've put you on as well. There you go. Right, so right now, people, what's your opinion on Zimbabwe? That's a rather odd question. What's your opinion on Zimbabwe? I don't know if I have an opinion on Zimbabwe. Dervish, मैं उर्दू बोलता हूँ. Hell yeah, of course you do, of course. What does a mod do? Abe, salo. What does a mod do? Mod, it gives you prestige. If anybody's talking out of line, you can put them straight, and you can just make sure, there's control. Right, so... Right, what is going on? So many new mods. Well, that's good, because sometimes I do these surprise visits. I just come on and, and sometimes my timings, but there's always somebody at some part of the globe that's awake. And so now these people are quite diverse. Right now, what is going on? Mods can't time out other mods, lol. Mufti, if they ban me for quoting you here. No, don't ban Abu Safura for quoting me. Kya kar zalmo? Don't, this is zulm. Hada zulmun shadid. All right, so what is going down? Mufti Gore Chacha says, Mufti, should I marry a Hyderabadi? Should I marry a Hyderabadi woman? I think you mean a woman. Hyderabadi. Should Gore Chacha marry a Chachi from Hyderabad? Well, I don't know. We could run a poll. Kaam karo ke you send in your picture and then kuch we'll do our analysis of whether or not. Right, so Karima says, I'm gonna ban all the men on here. No, toba. Karima, control, yaar, control. This one, no man hating. You can't be man hating. There's only hate on those people who are out of order. Don't hate on all. Oh, this one too much. Right, so what is going on? Mufti, when is Atabek returning? Those of you that haven't watched my latest Mind Trap, people, it was with Sheikh Atabek. Do check it out. It was reasonably, short compared to the general Mind Traps, but it wasn't that short. I mean, it was over an hour and a half long. I think 1 hour 35 minutes. But it was incredibly fascinating and an amazing opportunity to get Sheikh Atabek on. We discussed many things from mortgages, from Sheikh Atabek's perspective, to culture, Molvis and their, kind of cultish, dogmatic hold on religion, to Sheikh Atabek's debate or discussion with the beloved Sheikh Asrar Ratwi Sahib. So do check it out, people. Definitely check it out. Like it, share it, spread the love, people. Spread the love. So, Rami said, I won't bore you with another harami question. Rami, you're doing it, man. That's a Rami question. The worst is this isn't aimed at the Sheikh himself, but I'm just saying the name Rami Nasur. I'm sure the Sheikh is an Imam and a Sheikh. I'm sure he's a great person, but that name, you see, Sur in our lingo means a pig, and Na would mean of. So this could be understood two ways. If you said Ramina Sur, that would mean that, either you're saying that this person is, that he's the pig child of a bastard, or you're saying he's like he's a pig but of the bastard kind, like woof, the Ramina Surawe. Toba, toba, toba. When I first heard that name, I was like, huh? What? Yeah, is who? Can you imagine they go, Acha to, they go, now we're going to invite, this is Imam Ramina Surah. They go, toba karo toba. They go, Buramia. This is, so anyway, so names can be very interesting, you see, and sometimes obviously in different cultures they can mean different things, but I get actually very intrigued by names. I find it's interesting. You could read a name and you think, wow, like you can just from a name you get intrigued. I don't know if that's just me because I'm losing the plot, or is that people in general, but I find names very intriguing and appealing, and they have an appeal factor to them, I think. Right now, Mufti, when is the next meetup? Soon. Mufti, are tattoos haram? So the next meetup I will do, either I may even do it this week, if not then next week. I will see. If I don't do the Mind Trap this week, then I'll do a meetup. Right, so there's 200 mods, someone said. Right, so what is going on? Mariam said, yeah, I get intrigued too. Yeah. Tattoos are not haram for men, no. How can God be timeless and yet perceive time? Wouldn't that introduce time to the timeless state? But what makes you think God perceives time? Isn't the perception of time simply our perspective of affairs? Right, so a bit like as a poor analogy, let's say I'm reading a book. Now, on this book, at this stage, let's say, I don't know, Abdullah has set out on this journey and blah, 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 blah. And at this stage, on this page, Abdullah is in the new city now and he's doing this. But really, there it is. It's all flat. But it's the reader that is seeing it in a linear format, not from this perspective, just like that. This is not a linear format if I'm just looking at it. You see, so what I'm trying to say is it's perspective. We perceive events in a linear state of time. It does not mean that time is like that, or that this linear format is being perceived from other dimensions as we are perceiving it. To them, to God, it would just, or to even other entities, it could just be flat. So, yeah. Right, okay, let's move on to demonic possessions, people. Demonic possessions. Right, so jinn possessions. I'm going to show you a clip that was sent to me. Now,
and correct me if I'm wrong, Ya Sheikh Fadi.
It's once again the same person we had a few weeks back, or maybe a month ago, I can't remember now, on the Masala segment, where he was speaking about the bathroom, and where unfortunately it can become a hands-on a place where there's all hands on board, hands on deck, people. Oh, it was deck. Oh, you're spelling it with an E. Acha. I thought it's the vowel I. Acha, misunderstand. Ghalti se mistake, okay? Mistake. Yaar, you said all hands on deck. Acha. Sorry, bhaiya. Ghalti se mistake, okay? Mistake. So now, this person was speaking about that. Now, here he is with another person. I don't know if the other person is a sheikh or whatever. I don't even know this person's name. I don't know who he is. But he's doing this whole thing about jinns possessing people and the harm that they can do. And then they can also end up... a bit of the love can happen, people. So, what is this one? Let's see, people. Oh, 1 minute.
Let me add a little bit of
spice to that. So,
and correct me if I'm wrong, Ya Sheikh Fadi. The Mashaykh have advised us and told us that most of the people that be possessed by jinns are those who spend long hours in the bathroom, those who talk in the bathroom, those who stay on their phone in the bathroom, those who sing in the bathroom, those who masturbate in the bathroom for a long period of time. Whatever. Wallahi, by these little, you think it's minor, but it's major to the jinns, ya ikhwan.
Akid, 100%. If you go in the bathroom and you don't protect yourself, if you don't see the
wear protection.
You're vulnerable.
In the bathroom.
If you're there for an hour, they're watching you.
On your own, wear
protection. They're going to follow you to your room. They're going to sleep with you when you're sleeping at night. They're going to possess you. They'll destroy you. They'll destroy your hygiene. They'll destroy
you. Ashik. Fall in love. Ashik. People. But seriously, people, you go into the bathroom, you spend like an hour in there, and the jinni is like, before you know it, the jinni is like, the jinni is coming to destroy you as a lover. Low. This, people, this is the problem. Now, I want to show very quickly some clips of the problem with believing in all this kind of nonsense. There is no such thing as jinn possession. And, these are unfortunately mental health issues, but, in the name of it, what goes on? So you will see here that, this is one example. I think she's doing leg raises, but that jinn looks chilled out. What the hell? Okay, talk about Chak de Phatte. This is this is a new take on Chak de Phatte. So you can see there. Let me show you another example of that, people. Now, just one moment. Right, so wait there. Just so we can understand that, look, these are some cases where you have absurdities. Yeah. Here's another example. But, you know, sometimes what's so bad is the abuse that goes on during all of these.
Are you Muslim or a kafir?
Are you Muslim or kafir?
Muslim or a kafir? Don't bully me, I don't bully you. Are you Muslim or a kafir? Are you Muslim or a kafir, jinni? Are you a Muslim or a kafir, jinni? You're gonna leave بإذن yes or no? يلا أخرج بإذن الله.
That means get out.
Bismillah, bismillah, bismillah.
Landlord's here. Get out.
Bismillah, bismillah, bismillah. Bismillah, bismillah, bismillah.
What's going on?
Leave this body, yes or no? Don't bully me, cause I'll bully you. You laugh at me, I'll laugh at you. You're gonna leave this body, yes or no?
I don't know what he puts on her head there, though. This.
Yalla bi'idhnillah. Yalla.
I don't know what that is.
Are you gonna leave this body, yes or no?
Is that like something hot?
This is only taste. Are you gonna leave this body, yes or no?
Right, so.
Are you Muslim or a kafir?
Yo, this guy's just obsessed with you Muslim or kafir. Right, so you've got this. So this is the right, so that's another clip there, another brief clip.
Enough punishment.
This one also, mashallah, embraces
Are
Islam.
the words of Allah, my Lord and your Lord and the Lord of everything.
Mashallah.
Accept Islam. Believe in your Lord.
Oh, your jinn accepts Islam. Jinn goes, do you mind? It's salah time.
Muhammadan Rasulullah. Leave this body. Open the mouth. Open the mouth.
Open the mouth.
Open the mouth.
Huh? Yeah, ye ho ka raha hai. Right, so anyway, that one, the jinn got battered that much that he became a Muslim. MashaAllah. Do male jinn men also get do male jinns also get circumcised? Up be, you know, something. But here's one. This is another clip where, you know what, this is actually very sad, because this is, you know, this is the kind of abuse and nonsense that gets perpetrated in the name of religion that we're trying to help, right? So you've got, oh, right. Now, to be honest, I would be terrified as well. I mean, you see.
Yandıracağım abi, kibir kurtaran değil. Ne yolla daymışsın bu kıza? Ne yolla? De göreyim, cadudu, sehirdi. Neyle? Tanış göreyim. Sana azap vereceğim ha, dayanmadım.
You know, and he puts that in, burns her as well with this.
Ne? Emel? Kim elif Emel'i? Adı nedir? Belki ne bileyim yalan danışmışsa, ara vurmak istemişsin. Hardadır Emel?
Yeah.
Emel hardadır? Hardadır
See,
Emel?
like, astaghfirullah.
Emel hardadır, yerinde mənə. Emel'in yerinde, tez elə. Emel'in yerinde mənə. Hardadır Emel? De göreyim. Emel hardadır?
Yeah, this utterly
Yediriblər. Ben necə?
atrocious kind of behavior.
Hara, bədən harasına? Geyimine, hansı geyimine? De.
Atrocious behavior, honestly. And you see, this is what happens, people, that, you know, when these beliefs are allowed to permeate. Now, I'm not saying, look, I get the fact that people may say, oh, we think we're actually helping them. And I don't doubt that. I do accept that in their mind, they do think that we're helping this person. You know, that in their weird way, they may be sincere. But it's not on, man. This kind of like torturing someone like this, abusing them, burning them, you know, that poor girl's going to grow up clearly with, I mean, whatever mental health she's going through now is only going to be amplified. Even if momentarily she thinks this jinn has left her. These beliefs are nonsense. Okay. They have no basis in Islam. The shaitan is not that powerful. It is very clear in the Quran that the shaitan says on the day of judgment in Surah Ibrahim that all I had, the only power I had was to give you ideas, like as in just, you know, just whisper. And the rest was all you. He does not have the power to physically cause death or harm or beat you up or possess you and make you go sick. And he doesn't have these powers, right? So this is all in your mind. But the problem is this is so widespread. You know, may Allah make things easy. On that, there was another, on a slightly, here was a person who had figured it all out, really. So this is how to do jinn exorcisms. Your fire gun. Oh, Dukin. Oh, Dukin. So you can come back and see, this is why these things are so dangerous, people. Ashik. This is what happens, people. I just had to put that in there. But this this is the problem, people. This is the problem, that, you know, this nonsense of the jinn becomes an ashik. Ashik banaya. You Romeo jinn, you teasing me? It's like, jinn's like, sir, acha, you're going to spend another hour in the bathroom. Jinn goes, I hope you've got protection. Otherwise he goes, Puttar, protection I've got. Yeah. He's like, don't worry. Yaad rakhega tu. That's the time where people, when you come out of the bathroom, like, toba. So people, those of you sickos that go into the bathroom and spend an hour in there, Abis halo. Do you know how the jinn man is looking at you there? He's thinking, phone again, huh? Are you touching the? You're like, no, I was just. This is istinja. I was just. He's like, and he's carefully watching. Is it just the istinja touch, or does it get a little delicate? This. The moment to get, he's like, cha. Just hold back, guys. Hold your horses. He's just doing istinja yet. So this is the kind of nonsense that we have, people. You know what? Let's wrap this up. It's been awesome. You guys have been epic. If you haven't already, liked, subscribed, shared, फिर सालो, then you know what? Next time you go to the bathroom, put that. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Take your time. Take your time. So do make sure you do that. If you haven't watched the Sheikh Atabik Mind Trap, do so. It's on YouTube. Check it out, people. Can watch out for this week's it'll be Thursday night. It'll either be a mind trap or a meetup, so you can watch out for that. And yeah, if you want to show extra love and support, you know, kabhi kabhi it sometimes, unlike this guy, you actually get things right in life. So if you want to show extra love and support, you can make your way to Patreon and wahan jaake barsa do, shower your love. Don't worry about it. And to all my patrons out there, Miss Patreoncitos is the Espanol. It's not a Miss Patri. Just to clarify that, my patrons, Gio, Medijan. So, people, take very good care of yourselves. Till next week. Any questions, reach out to me on Instagram. But other than that, chill, man. Have an awesome week. I'll see you soon. Much love. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatuhu ta'ala wa barakatuh. All right. Abhi ye ho nahi raha yaar. This one no happening, you know. Where is it, man? Where is it? What is going on, man? What is going on? Chalo, what's this then?